I suppose by the transitive property, I too must be Vulcan as a motherfucker.
Hell yeah, Talin! We support her journey. Hello, Internet. I'm Ren, and today I want to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, Episode 5, Empathological Fallacy. This episode has some wonderful character development for Talin and her budding friendship with the Cerritos gang. And it's another episode that uses its runtime wisely and spends most of its time focused on the main storyline with Talin and the strange things happening to the Cerritos crew. And we love an Everyone is Acting Strangely episode, a Star Trek classic. I'm excited to see what the rest of this season has in store, but so far I've been really impressed with the quality of the episodes, this one included. Although I do have some problems with this episode in terms of the specific mechanism with which they executed part of the main plot. But that's all I can say without spoilers, so let's get into it. Spoilers for Empathological Fallacy and Lower Decks in general beyond this point. The episode opens with Talin's voiceover in a communication she wants to send to her old captain.
Communication. Provisional Lieutenant Junior Grade Talin to Captain Sokal of the VCF Cheval. Due to the recent unprovoked attacks on ships across the quadrant, the USS Cerritos is providing transport to 3 Betazoid diplomats.
The Cerritos is welcoming 3 Betazoids aboard, who they're transporting to Ryza, and they're rowdy as all heck, and are also sexually harassing basically anyone they can, a la Luoxana. I think Luoxana pulls it off a bit better, though. Just saying. Talin is not a fan. One of the Betazoids is voiced by Wendy Malick.
I get off bridge duty at 1300 hours.
Never mind. I like it when they're hard to get.
Who also voiced Ida the Owl Lady in The Owl House, which I will never ever forgive Disney for canceling.
Earn a new bad girl coven patch. Quitting! It's like trying, but easier.
I love her in pretty much everything she's in. She has such a great voice, although admittedly not a ton of character differentiation, like she's almost always pretty recognizable. Talin is irked by the Betazoids and their excess of feelings. They stop by sickbay, and we find out that Ta'ana's species used to hunt and eat the Betazoid.
Ah, I didn't realize there was going to be a buffet today.
Buffet? I wasn't informed of any.
She's joking. In the ancient past, Caitians used to hunt and eat Betazoids.
Oh.
Which is absolutely wild. Like, what? I have questions, including how and when they stopped.
As this amazing hat I bought from some gal on Angel One says, it's Romulan ale o'clock somewhere.
There's an Angel One reference that made me laugh because not only is that episode terrible, but the subservient men in deep V-necks do seem totally on brand for the Betazoid women. The Betazoids head to the bar and it becomes a party. Talin returns to her quarters and finishes her communication, which is basically just begging for her old job back and an end to her punishment of being stationed on a Federation ship.
If reinstated, I will suppress my own chaotic tendencies. It is only logical for my punishment to conclude and that I return to the Cheval.
She tries to send it, but the signal is blocked until the Betazoids leave. It's kind of weird. I don't think we've seen communications blackouts being used regularly, and transporting 3 women to a vacation planet seems like a strange reason for it. Anyways, Mariner tries to coax Talin into coming to the party.
I do not understand what you mean, but thank you for the invitation.
In the B-plot, Boimler is trying to memorize the entire crew's names and being really hard on himself when he can't, because he thinks he needs to know everything now that he's a lieutenant. Rutherford calls Shax in for some help.
Lieutenant Shax, I think I have a candidate for the program.
Shax escorts Boimler to a room full of security officers, and he's excited because he thinks he's going to learn a bunch of cool security stuff.
Oh god, what am I going to learn?
Sunkatse?
But the doors open to reveal a slam poetry session.
Worf. Torn between worlds. A warrior. No!
Talin heads to the mess hall where everyone's acting very strangely, including Miglimo, who is having a verbal confrontation with a replicator.
I said regurgitated soup, you stupid f***ing replicator! This barely even tastes like it's been in my mother's mouth!
Tendi is even more goopy and emotional than usual. Captain Freeman tries to calm everyone down, but she's having problems controlling her emotions too, and she's getting furious.
Stop embarrassing me in front of the Betazoids. I want them to think we're cool.
Talin proposes that the Betazoids are responsible and could be suffering from Xanthi Fever, which we've seen in DS9.
Xanthi Fever is known to infect Betazoids of their age. It causes empathetic abilities to unintentionally broadcast, heightening the emotions of those around them.
Wow, okay, yes, that does kind of sound exactly like what's happening.
Mariner and Freeman are bonding in a pretty cute way, though, which is really nice to see after the friction between them in earlier seasons.
They're so nice. The Lorex, she said I'm hot.
You friggin' are! I got a hot mom!
Oh, thank you, sweetie. I tried something new with my hair.
They escort the Betazoids back to sickbay and scan them. There's clearly more going on with them than meets the eye, but they come up clean.
Well, that's all of them. No Xanthi Fever detected.
Wonderful. What say we get back to the festivities?
Captain Freeman tries to confine the Betazoids to quarters anyways.
You're not going anywhere.
Darling, what's the matter?
Captain, these diplomats are our guests.
Are you telling me it's just a coincidence that you three showed up right when my crew started losing their minds?
They pull out some lipstick cattle prods and start kicking ass. In the B plot, they're doing charades.
You're trying to hold a little bird.
Shrinking. Oh, someone who shrinks.
Bucket? Swimming in a bucket!
It's Constable Odo from Deep Space Nine.
But Boimler wants to learn more practical security stuff, so he convinces himself he's being tested.
And training takes different forms.
Wait, is this a test? It is, isn't it?
Well...
Gotcha.
Okay, you got me.
And Shax plays along and rewards Boimler with a ritual box.
Good work.
I knew it.
Now that you have passed the test, it's time for the ritual. You must choose one to complete.
A puzzle and some tarot cards. What kind of choice is that?
He chose both!
In the A plot, the Betazoids take the ship. They also reassert that they aren't influencing anyone's emotions. In fact, they're being influenced too.
Our emotions are all over the place, too. Why do you think I want to kiss Katrat?
They're actually on a secret mission to figure out what's happening to the missing ships.
You have to be manipulating us. It's the only explanation. Why would we? We're on a multi-planet mission to telepathically look for clues that can explain attacks in a quadrant.
They set a course back to Betazoid that cuts through the neutral zone for some inexplicable reason. The crew continues getting weird. Ta'ana goes particularly feral and runs off with the intention of snacking on some Zoids.
We should stick together.
Mama's eating good tonight.
We gotta stop her. She took an oath not to consume patients.
Ta'ana's tricorder is still scanning, and Mariner and T'Lyn realize that T'Lyn is actually the source of the emotional disturbance.
That can't be right. According to this, the source of all this psychic disturbance
Is me.
It's because, like Sarek, she is suffering from Bandai Syndrome.
How can you be the source? Vulcans can't get Xanthi Fever.
No, but we do have similar conditions. Bandai Syndrome, for instance, creates involuntary telepathic projections.
I have some problems with this, but we'll get into that later on. T'Lyn is also too young for Bandai Syndrome. She's only 62, and it generally affects Vulcans over the age of 200. On the bridge, Captain Freeman tries to convince the Betazoids not to go through the neutral zone. She uses their telepathy against them to sow division between them.
Please don't read my mind.
Apologies, Captain, but you give me no choice.
I'll devour whoever I want, Lorex, you sanctimonious buzzkill.
No! I am not a sanctimonious buzzkill!
In the B plot, Boimler keeps lamenting that he isn't allowed to kick any ass.
Wish I'd draw a card that made me kick some ass.
There's more to being on the security team than kicking ass.
He has some less than kind words for the security team.
Well, it seems like there's nothing to being on the security team. Where's the toughness? Where's the grit? I guess in the California class, all you guys do is play games.
But then there's finally a red alert and they spring into action.
Red alert! Whoa! Okay, guys, is this action? Phasers? Big phasers? Wait, guys, hold up! Guys, slow down! Guys, wait for me!
T'Lyn tells the crew what's going on, and everyone turns on her. She and Mariner hide from the rest of the crew in a closet, and T'Lyn helps Mariner regulate her emotions.
Are you mind melding me?
No, I am attempting to regulate your emotions, as I am the cause of their imbalance.
Ooh, being balanced feels pretty good.
T'Lyn thinks it's because she's not Vulcan enough.
The crew's chaos is my fault. Though I fear it is because I am not Vulcan enough.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen you get this close to expressing sadness. What's going on?
T'Lyn tells Mariner she's frustrated she couldn't send a message to her old ship.
I have been frustrated with my inability to send a message to the captain of my previous ship. I have been preoccupied by it all day.
And reveals that she isn't in Starfleet voluntarily, but rather because she was dismissed for being
insubordinate, unhinged, and recklessly emotional.
She's essentially being punished for saving her crew with her instincts and wage douche.
During our encounter with the Klingon and Packlet ship, I saved my crew by following my instincts. My captain determined that I was damaged and illogical.
Mariner gives T'Lyn a pep talk.
I hate to say it, but your previous crew were a bunch of f***ing idiots. You're one of the most brutally efficient, distant people I have ever met.
Really?
I love this scene between them. It is so sweet.
What was your captain's name?
Soko.
Man, f*** Captain Sokol. What, you saved their lives so he kicks you off the ship? Where's the logic in that, huh?
It does seem like a disproportionate response to a minor character flaw.
There's no character flaw. Can you imagine anything more Vulcan than Bandai Syndrome? Hello? I mean, Spock's dad had it and he was Vulcan as a motherfucker.
T'Lyn relaxes and we get this amazing line from her.
I suppose by the transitive property, I too must be Vulcan as a motherfucker.
As Talin deals with her unresolved conflict, the effects fade and the crew returns to normal. I love the bit with a guilty-looking Miglamos sneaking away from the replicator that he has absolutely destroyed. The security team retakes the ship by kicking butt and successfully averts the Cerritos crossing into the neutral zone. The Romulans are disappointed, which definitely made me cackle.
Okay, enough. Yeah, they didn't enter the neutral zone. What did you expect?
Set a course for Sector 87. We'll lurk over there.
Boimler apologizes to Shax for being so skeptical of his methods, and Shax reminds him that emotional well-being is important too, and they run off to finish some puzzles, and I love the little Enterprise reference here as well.
Let's get back to the training room. I think we both need some puzzle time.
I call dibs on the Malcolm Reed!
Only if you get there first!
The Betazoids apologize, and Freeman smooths everything over. They give her a pad with a blurry image of the vessel that's been destroying all the missing ships. Mariner and Talin close out the episode in the bar. Talin decides to stay aboard the Cerritos, and she allows Mariner to hug her.
I have decided to continue my time here on the Cerritos to study your chaotic ways.
Happy to have you, pal.
Tendi tries to make a group hug happen and laments that she's missed the opportunity.
Wait, are we hugging? Let me in the booth!
I allowed a single embrace.
Aw, man, you guys gotta warn me. I missed it.
Okay, I'll start off by saying I do absolutely love this episode. I think the way that they set up the idea that the Betazoids had Xanthi Fever like Luoxana Troi in DS9's Fascination, and then subverted it by revealing that the cause of the emotional dysregulation was actually Talin was brilliant. I loved the character development for Talin in terms of unpacking her exile from the Cheval and her feelings of inadequacy for not being like other Vulcans, and I really liked that it was Mariner that helped her on the path to self-acceptance. I liked that we got a bit more progress in the plot about the ship destroying Little Vessel and an indication that there are a lot of concerned parties trying to figure it out. So I think we'll see that story continue to unfold. At this point, though, they've built it up so much that I hope the payoff is worth it, but they haven't really given me any reason to doubt yet. The B-plot with Boimler was really fun, and I enjoyed the way that the confrontation on the bridge showed that the relaxation and bonding the security team engaged in helped them be more effective when it was time for action.
I can't read you. How are your thoughts so relaxed?
Slam poetry, where the soul meets the mind.
Some other miscellaneous things I liked were Shax trying to calm Ta'ana down and scruffing her when she tried to attack him.
Food. I can smell it.
Honey, maybe let's just do one of Dr. Miglimo's focus exercises we've been working on.
I hate those f***ing things.
Carno and his mind was calm.
All the cat jokes really work for me basically every time they come up. I also just really enjoyed how the emotional weirdness made Mariner repeatedly reveal how much she actually loves her mom.
We'll have to figure it out later. I have to rescue my mommy!
I know we've seen it before, but it's still just really sweet. My biggest problem with this episode is that they decided to go with Bandai Syndrome to explain these strange happenings aboard the Cerritos. I think it was an odd decision. First, I will say I'm not generally a huge stickler for canon, especially if a change in canon results in a better story or just general improvement to the believability or enjoyability of the Trek universe in general. However, in this case, I think the use of Bandai Syndrome, which was a prominent allegory for dementia, is kind of confusing. When we saw it in Sarek, Bandai Syndrome was an incredibly debilitating illness that is generally fatal, with Vulcans losing control over their emotions and logical reasoning as the illness progresses. It appeared to have no cure, and even the stopgaps to suppress the symptoms had consequences for others, as we saw in TNG's Sarek.
Ambassador? I am myself again. It has been a long time. No! It is wrong.
So for Talin and Mariner to discover she has this illness and treat it as merely a confirmation that she's
Vulcan as a motherfucker
feels inconsistent in a way that either undercuts the severity of what we saw in Sarek.
Sarek of Vulcan never confused what he wanted with the truth. I will not be spoken to in this manner! I hear anger in your voice. It would be illogical for a Vulcan to show anger!
Or minimizes how someone, even someone as emotionally restrained as Talin, would react to discovering that they have this illness. It doesn't totally ruin the episode for me or anything. I think the way that Talin is presented is really well done, and again, I love the growth for her character here, and I see why they picked Bandai for its connection to Sarek, but it just feels a little poorly thought out in terms of the weight it's given. And I wish they had some in-universe explanation for why she wasn't worried about it, or had a scene with Ta'ana explaining why it's not a big deal for her specifically or something. It just feels really strange. Also, unlike Sarek, she didn't have the external visible symptoms. In Sarek, we saw him crying and expressing anger to indicate that he was suffering from this illness. Whereas in this episode, T'Lyn acted completely normal. It was the rest of the crew that was losing their minds. And don't get me wrong, that was a symptom of Bandai Syndrome as well. Sarek was projecting his emotions onto the Enterprise crew, but it just kind of feels like they didn't think too much about how Bandai Syndrome has been used and presented in the past and just picked the, Vulcan illness we already know of. But that's just my opinion. What did you think about this episode? Did you like the way that they portrayed Bandai Syndrome? Let me know in the comments section down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos. See you next time. Wiedersehen.